All right, perfect. So before we get started today, I did want to go over a few tools with you all. If you look towards the bottom of your screen, you should see a couple of icons. You have the chat icon. There we encourage you to put in any questions that you have for the presenter. If you have any technical issues, put that in the chat as well, and I can answer that privately. Also, please make note of your mute button, which is on the bottom corner of your taskbar. It should be all the way to the left. We just ask that you mute yourself when you're not speaking. If we hear any background noise, we may go through and just mute people. We want to keep this kind of as a dialogue, so we encourage you guys to ask questions out loud. But of course, if you have anything going on in the background, just please mute. And I think, we will be doing a poll throughout this. So when it's time to do the poll, you will be prompted to answer the question, and then we will share the results on the screen. Okay, I think that's all for me. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Greg Smith.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole. Welcome, everybody. I'm Greg Smith, Executive Director of the Florida Literacy Coalition. And this afternoon, we're pleased to bring you this first in a two-part series on developing an impactful family literacy program made possible through the generous support of the Florida Department of Education. I'm pleased to say that we've been seeing evidence of a resurging interest in family literacy and more broadly in two-generation or two-gen programming. The Aspen Institute, which is a pretty high-profile foundation, has been focused on this area for the last couple of years, with the understanding that two-gen approaches in a wide range of areas serve to build family well-being by intentionally and simultaneously working with children and the adults in their lives together. And of course, family literacy programs have been pioneers in this area and have been doing this kind of work for decades. They have demonstrated time and time again how holistic, multi-generational educational approaches can and do have a significant positive impact on the whole family, including, of course, children and their success in school. And for our ESOL or ESOL-based programs, there are certainly numerous challenges faced by our students, including, of course, limited English proficiency, but also lower levels of formal education, often the nature of their employment, digital access barriers, and one stat I just wanted to share off the top, which I thought was interesting, that here in Florida, immigrant parents of children under 10 years of age are twice as likely as their native-born counterparts to lack a high school diploma or equivalent. And that's actually some data that's come from the Migration Policy Institute, which is doing some really interesting work in this area on multi-generational programming. And that data is from a Florida fact sheet, and I'll put that in the chat here. And we'll be sharing those kinds of resources throughout the next couple of sessions. So with that, I want to ask all of you to welcome all of you to introduce yourselves or invite all of you to introduce yourselves in the chat. And we're going to do a quick poll here just to kind of get a sense of who's on the line as well. So Nicole, could you pull that poll up? Okay, yes, so this is the poll. It's a two-question poll. If you can share what type of organization you're from, and then just a little bit of information in terms of your knowledge level with regard to family literacy, whether you've engaged in family literacy programming and are quite knowledgeable. Maybe you haven't engaged, but you're pretty knowledgeable about the subject, or if you're not as knowledgeable. So we'll give that another 20 seconds here. If you can just weigh in on those, that would be great. Okay, so with that, can we go ahead and end the poll, Nicole, and share the results?
Yes, we are sharing the results.
Okay, so I think I probably see it a little differently than everybody else, but it looks like we have good representation of CBOs, school district programs in particular. And in terms of experience and knowledge level, 40% of the folks have a family literacy program. About 12% don't have a program but are pretty knowledgeable. 32% say they're somewhat familiar with the topic, and about 16% said this is a new area for me. So that gives us a good understanding. Looks like we have a pretty nice cross section of people in terms of their experience level and knowledge level on the topic. So with that, I wanted to just share with you sort of our agenda over the next couple of sessions. So in this session here, we will be talking about models and strategies and practice settings, components of successful family literacy programs. We were fortunate to have Alejandro Garzon, program manager from Glades, who's going to be talking about a program that they've been doing, a family literacy program they've been doing in the Glades area for many years. And then we'll have a small group discussion before our wrap up. And then our next session next week, we will do a little bit deeper dive around parent-child activities and family literacy. We'll talk a little bit about adult education, although most of the folks who are present here are from an adult education background, but some of the specifics around how adult education can be customized for a family literacy setting. Building on collaborations, partnerships and collaborations are a real important piece to many family literacy programs, working with partners to really make this a successful, especially since it's a multi-dimensional kind of programming approach. And then we'll also have another guest presenter and do some small group discussion work. And then we'll wrap up talking a little bit about some funding sources, including a funding source that we have available now to do planning grants specific to family literacy. So that's sort of what we have in store here over the next couple of sessions. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our primary presenter and facilitator for our two-part series, Dr. Jacqueline Lynch. Dr. Lynch is an associate professor of literacy education in the School of Education and Human Development at Florida International University, right here in Florida. And she is also the co-author of a publication that came out just last year called Teaching and Learning About Family Literacy and Family Literacy Programs. I have a copy of it right here. It's excellent. And she's co-authored that with Esther Prinz, with Penn State and the Goodling Institute for Research in Family Literacy. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jackie.
Thanks very much, Greg. Welcome everyone to the session. I thought I would do a review of some of the major research that I have come across over the years on family literacy with you, and then also throughout the seminars talk about some of my current involvement in family literacy programs. Currently, I'm involved in a program in connection with Head Start and migrant families. Bilingual books is the major focus for that program. I'm also just starting a family literacy program with incarcerated fathers. Both of these programs are held here in South Florida. Okay, bear with me while I try to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, I thought I would start with the definition of family literacy, and certainly it can vary based on, the work that's been done. But in general, family literacy, as we know, is multifaceted. Sometimes when we use the term family literacy, it includes programs, and other times it's essentially what families do with literacy at home. Family literacy programs can include a program, service, or activity. Generally, when I'm reporting on family literacy, if it's just an activity or one or two-time activity, I'll call it an activity versus a program, which I considered to be more of a longer process. But as you can see from the research, family literacy programs include program, services, activities, and so forth. Generally, the focus is focusing on both adults and children. Can be involved in encouraging reading or to help parents, helping them with their children's education as part of family literacy. So I thought I would review some of the important research on adult learning and why it's such an important part of family literacy. We know that complex models of family literacy, including those that focus on parents and children's educational needs, have promoted systematic change in literacy outcomes in children and in parents, although most of the research has focused, as you'll see, on children. It's a weakness in the family literacy research. We know that mothers' literacy levels are particularly important as a predictor of children's success in schools. Improving adult education means better employment for parents, and so that means also better resources. Adult education can assist children's learning at home. We see that with our complex models of family literacy programs, particularly the Keenan model. And of course, adult education fosters other benefits beyond, cognitive development, including psychosocial benefits, increased confidence. This can be at the workplace and working with children and teachers at school. Certainly, early learning has been researched well in family literacy programs. We see there's many developmental benefits of that. One of the major focuses on early learning is because of its connection to later learning, and a lot of justifications for grant proposals and research studies often focus on young children for that reason in terms of looking at trajectories. I included a citation there by Dickinson and Morris that they point out about differentiated school entry levels remain unchanged, even as children pass through school, in referencing some of Duncan's work. Of course, it's not the case for all children, but certainly we're seeing research that early literacy matters. And of course, first grade reading achievement can predict later reading even into high school. So why are programs implemented? And of course, as part of that, we see who they serve. Some of the previous work, Wasik and Van Horn's work, talked about literacy skills correlating with parents' education and income. Certainly over time, there's been an increased recognition of the role of parents. We see this with parental leaves over time. So that has certainly, as a way of seeing how important parents have been in children's lives. The strong relationship between the home environment and children's literacy development, increased studies on that, looking at correlations between practices and beliefs and children's learning in school, and through reading and other family literacy activities. And certainly a focus on English language learners has been a major reason for why programs have been implemented. Family literacy and outcomes, there's been some major reviews of family literacy research over time. We see from the first point I have there, the review of 6 meta-analysis studies reviewing programs, and they concluded that child literacy strategies should have a family component in there when they did comparison of looking at early achievement and of course family engagement. Van Steensel's review, and he's done some further recent work, talked about the non-trivial contribution to children's literacy development through family literacy. Swain's work in the UK also showed programmatic effects. And then of course, participation in adult literacy may not lead to outcomes right away, as we see, and certainly higher test scores, but we know that it can increase engagement in literacy. And Reader's work showed that that can have an impact 3 to 5 years on into looking at reading proficiency and learning proficiency. And then of course, there's benefits beyond achievement, increased engagement with schools, and of course, social, emotional, and learning from parent-child reading. Baker's research looked at the cognitive outcomes of parents reading to children, but they also examined the social, emotional as well, and found that children were impacted social emotionally by parent-child reading. So in terms of limited research for participants in family literacy, we're seeing a growing number of fathers in programs. However, the research is still limited in that area. Certainly, it's very limited on same-sex parents in family literacy programs. The same can be said for incarcerated parents in family literacy programs. We've had some research out of the UK and also some work done in Pennsylvania. In fact, the program that I'm doing in South Florida with incarcerated fathers is modeled after the one in Pennsylvania, which has fathers in prison recording themselves reading and sending the recording home to the child. The one in Pennsylvania included some artwork and scrapbooks and things as well with that program. I had difficulty getting that through ethics in South Florida, but I am going to do the shared read. So that will be underway this summer. The elementary school children versus children in preschool. And you can see why there has been a focus early because of its impact for later development in literacy. However, some of the children that have gone through programs still need support as they progress through schools. So we see less on elementary as they start to move up into, grade 4, 5, and 6, and so forth with programs. And then at the bottom, you can see that there's more research has focused on children's literacy and outcomes and less on adult outcomes in family literacy programs. And this entails even when parents are involved in programs where they're reading to children, what impact does that have on parents' literacy skills, even outside of a program that might be doing the, working on the GED or some, workplace-based skills and so forth. Okay, I'm going to stop share for a moment and talk about models. Let's see. Hopefully you can see this one as well. Okay, in terms of family literacy models, we can see that there's different types of programs, and many of you are, from the poll, it seems, are involved in programs currently. So we have the comprehensive or the Keenan model programs, adult education for parents, early childhood education, or educational support for elementary school children. We have the PACT, the Parent-Child Together Time, or the ILA as it's currently more popularly known, interactive literacy activities. And sometimes we have the parent education part in there as well as part of those models. The child focus with parent interaction, as many of you know, seems to be the most common form of family literacy in terms of models, programs. And now we're seeing more on the 2-gen models, which is looking at the adult education for parents and then focusing on the early childhood or educational support for elementary school children. And we can see the outcomes measured, for the comprehensive program, it tends to be children and parents, children in the PACT program or the ILA program. And of course, in the 2-gen model, the focus on assessment is both on children and parents. Okay, so different types of practice settings. Many have been involved with preschools, particularly the PACT programs, Parent Teacher Together, Head Start, as one example. The program, as I mentioned at the beginning, that I'm working on in South Florida is connected to Head Start to a couple of centers. And that's the one with migrant parents, mostly mothers, and working on bilingual books and the sharing of that. I'm happy to share more on that program if anybody was interested later. Home-centered or home visiting programs, a HIPPY program where an education facilitator enters the home. We're seeing in terms of effective programs, which I'll talk about shortly, we're seeing that many of the effective programs in the research do have that home component to them, particularly in the PACT or Parent-Child Together Time programs. I'll say a few words about the school-based program in a few moments, Spark, and in our next webinar, we'll have a presenter that's going to be sharing information about a school-based program. The summer school programs, many of them have been initiated to affect the summer slump that we've seen in reading. And so one example is that the Reading Apprenticeship Program. And many of you are connected with the library and community-based programs from the poll. And of course, one of those is the barbershop program. It was mostly geared toward African-American or Black children, 4 to 8-year-olds, and there was often an incentive given by the barber for reading to the barber. And so that was one that's well cited in research across the US in particular. Correctional facilities, Prince's work, and of course, Nut Brown's work out of the UK as well has done some work on looking at the effectiveness of engaging with fathers in prison. I think it's particularly important in Florida because of the high incarceration rate. And so there seems to be a real need for more research done with fathers in prisons. The SPARK program is a school-based program. In-school tutoring is part of that program. Then they have the community partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. And so that provides then some academic enrichment for the students. And then there's the family engagement part, and they have a parent partner that works with families. And so that's an advantage of the program that they have, because not all schools would have that. And that provides some information about literacy concepts, validating, of course, the types of experiences that parents do at home. From my own experience working with parents, many may not see things that they already do that it's assisting with reading development. They think they have to read to children only to assist with literacy development. So I think it's an important part of shaping that learning experience with when working with parents. And of course, we have an example coming up shortly of a community-based program. Alejandro will be sharing, and I'll introduce him in a few moments, about a community-based program here in Florida. Some of the frameworks for family literacy use the ORIM framework that came out of the UK. So this is mostly part of the parent-child engagement family literacy programs, where there's an opportunity for literacy. So there's a provision. So they focus on that with parents, providing the books, recognition of children's literacy development. So they work with parents on strategies to reinforce the engagement, interactions. So when they're actually engaging in the tasks, so it's not just a model of providing the books, but it's actually reading to children or other forms of print engagement. And of course, modeling themselves. So parents actually become a model. It could be, different magazines they're reading and so forth. So not just the UK, but researchers in the US have adopted this model as well. Okay. I have one more slide I'm going to show you. This one has to do with the looking at the outcomes of and successful components of family literacy programs. Let's see. So can everybody see this slide? Sorry, I lost you for a moment here. I can't see you. Greg, can you see this?
We can't see anything at this point, no.
No, you cannot. Okay, I'll try it again.
Okay, just came up.
Great, thank you. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so general facets, I thought I would start there and then run into some more specifics on family literacy programs. And again, I'm happy to answer questions as well at the end of this presentation too. So general facets, certainly the incorporation of diversity, and many of our programs are geared toward diversity to begin with. But there's means of incorporating more diversity, and I'll speak a little bit more about that as I move through the slides. Certainly the acknowledgement of and building upon the strengths of parents and community members, including their voices. I know with the COVID, I started the family literacy program in South Florida with the migrant parents. And it was COVID happened, and of course trying to build trust among parents, particularly for parents whose first language, they were low literate in the first language, and now they're living in South Florida where there's also new languages that they're exposed to. So I just want to say that the acknowledgement and that building of trust is so important. It's such an important part. And so finding better ways, even if we're using technology, is I think a route forward that we have to look at in terms of how do we build trust if we're not face to face. Logistical factors can enhance parental participation, including the location. Childcare seems to be the big one in the research. Providing childcare for parents or some sort of child assistance. And again, it comes up again and again in the research. Parent-child together time. So again, initiating the engagement, recruiting, the importance of multiple languages for, especially if we're trying to recruit diverse parents. Not just print as well. So the focus group could work well for that in terms of getting community members to come to a focus group, which in my experience has been connecting with someone in the community to initiate that focus group as a way to engage parents, particularly parents who may be low literate. The timing, some of the experiences as you might have had with initiating programs. I found when I worked with mothers, often after school is a great time or pickup time, but for fathers, it was often Saturday mornings. So gender can affect the timing of the program as well. Location and transportation or easy access. And our guest speaker coming up might say a little bit about that as well with the Glades educational program, because to my knowledge, they do provide transportation. So that's certainly a way to support initial engagement in family literacy. And of course, childcare and keeping costs low to families as well. Focusing on parent needs, which can be done through surveys, as I mentioned, the focus group at the beginning, and certainly reviewing the research is an important way of learning about whether it's parent interactions or general interest about a culture. And it's one of the ways that I've found out, in terms of understanding cultures different from my own when I'm designing family literacy programs. Importance of building adult self-efficacy through encouragement is an important piece, particularly at the beginning. Belief in one's ability that they can succeed in the program. And then, of course, offering a leadership role by asking their opinions. And that can come through survey and things they want changed. That's something at the beginning, but it's also something, as we know, as we progress through programs, it's important to collect data on, okay, is it meeting your needs, but what else could I be doing to make it further address your needs? Cultural integration of beliefs, parent interests are very important. The engagement of participants in hands-on activities for maintaining engagement, and of course, the ongoing literacy success. Parents will, of course, drop out of programs if they don't feel they're making gains or having success. So that's an important piece as well of maintaining engagement. Home language and interpreter, the PALS program on the West Coast of Canada. It was a longitudinal program, still going on in 5 languages. They attribute some of their research to having a leader who can speak the languages, and the materials are sent home, whether it's in Farsi and so forth, different languages. Community member involvement in the program when possible, and modeling strategies, and certainly tailoring to meet the adults' level of where they're at in their literacy levels. I wanted to raise this one, and this is about the bond between, and this is probably important for adult literacy programs as well as, working with parents on parent-child interactions, is that connection. We're seeing more and more research come out on that if we're able to build bonds, emotional bonds between the participants in the program, it can often support them remaining in the program itself. Evaluation, there's research talking about the importance of long-term effects programs and following programs through. As we know from Powell and Carey's work, that if we're looking at program fidelity and we're making variations in programs as we go through, which I think is an important strength of a program to adapt to the needs of members. They remind us that we also need to adapt the assessments, because we want to have assessments measured with our changes to sort of stay with the fidelity of the program. So once we make those changes, it's important to tailor that to those to those strategies that we've modified, or even outcomes that we've modified, outcome goals. And certainly the diversification and the evaluation, qualitative and quantitative research. As you know, we often don't see changes in child achievement right away, or there's many other factors at play for child achievement. And so by having the qualitative research through focus groups or interviews, it certainly supports us in applying for further funding and programs as well. I just want to say that one of the main areas, I'll stop sharing, that's been increasing is the role of technology in family literacy programs. So, and how to foster the engagement with technology with also building that sense of a sense of network among members who are attending, and also sort of a trust with the family literacy leaders as they work with parents. I'm happy to answer any questions that people have at this point before we move into a local program presentation in Florida of what worked and maybe some challenges as well in that program.
Folks have any questions? You can either put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, Marcus.
Marcus, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, you're hearing laughter too. You mentioned, Jackie, you mentioned the mothers who tended to want to do the programming at childcares kind of during pickup time or after pickup time. I'm curious how prevalent that is. I've always kind of been struck, by that in the sense that it always feels like they probably want to get home. So, they've come from work, they're coming to pick up their kids, and now they're being asked to do a literacy program. Any insight on that?
Marcus, for us, the issue was many of them work in the farm fields in South Florida during the day. So it was getting the most convenient time was when some of them were taking children to school, often for other activities. So we tried to plan we met them once a month, and then we had focus groups. Now we started on Zoom, which of course we had less attendance, believe it or not, because of technology issues and no internet at home to access and so forth. So many of them had phones, but not access to the technology. And so with our face-to-face group, we based that on recommendation. A colleague and I are working on that a specific program. We're a year in, we have funding for the second year. So we're working with the preschool as just before they enter kindergarten students. But to get back to your question, the teachers had suggested that this was the most convenient time for these parents. I don't want to generalize that it may not work for all parents, but in this case, the convenience wise of some of them taking the kids into school was the best time, because if you look at transportation costs otherwise to get back to a meeting, that could be a factor for some of the parents. And again, yeah, I think it really depends on the population, that you're working with.
I can speak to that.
That's
a little
helpful.
bit.
Thank you.
In my experience, and we had 4 different sites when I was in Virginia, but they were all after school. And, we had tried a daytime model, and it just wasn't sustainable, just because folks were not able to come in and do, and it was a more intensive kind of thing. And I'm sure there's other folks on the call here or on the session here that might be able to weigh in, but we found that having an after school type of program, and what was really key is providing a meal, providing dinner. So that was a huge factor. And they often, and these were ESOL based programs, they often saw it as an opportunity, first and foremost, for them to attend ESOL class with childcare. And then over time, they grew to more appreciate sort of what the holistic, family literacy approach was. But, these were folks who wanted to attend class anyways, the convenience of being able to have it in a location where they were going to be going to anyways. And having childcare provided, having a meal provided, it was kind of a confluence of things. And yes, it's at the end of a very long day, and that's working against you. But, there's a number of factors there that we're working toward, that model working, and it was quite popular. Is there anybody else on the line who's worked with an after-school program and can speak to that?
That's helpful though. Thank you, Jackie and Greg. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Looks like in the chat, there are no questions right now.
I do have a question. I was wondering if, and I'm looking at literacy, traditional literacy, not learning English, just basic literacy for English speakers. Have you seen programs where the focus is primarily on the adult learner and the adult literacy, and they incorporate rather than, because often it seems like the focus is kind of on the children, and then the parents, unless it's like what Greg said, that it's ESOL and it's adult classes and then you work in the other. But have you seen it where it's more flipped and more concentrated, more focused on the adult learner?
I can speak to our current case, because one of the things that we'd like to do in year 2 is connect the parents who, many of them speak a dialect of Spanish. And I was told by the teachers that we work with that there's 10, 12 dialects from Guatemala alone. And so we're going to try to connect them with the local library that has adult literacy initiatives happening as part of the program. It's a way to extend it. But from my knowledge, I've seen less, there's been the adult literacy in general, the adult piece, but I think what you're focusing on is sort of skills that support the parent-child together time as well. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's the education for the parent to sort of support their reading, like being able to read to children and not getting the GED and
Correct. Yes, they're the parents' literacy skills, and not necessarily as language learners, but as Americans who speak English who are struggling readers. Right.
Okay. Local programs, for example, there's one-on-one tutoring at Miami-Dade. There's what's called the LEAD program, and that does one-on-one tutoring locally. So there are some sort of programs happening, but I've seen less research on that. And I think that's one of the points I raised in the presentation. I think we need more on that in terms of adults that are even involved with the parent-child. What types of skills are they building, and what types of skills do they need if they don't want to necessarily get a formal diploma and so forth? What are they gaining? So I think you're raising an important point in an area that's ripe for further research is on those skills. But I would look at, in your area, look at just local programs as well, and just look at their models and see maybe there's something that you'd want to build upon or change based on what some of these tutoring programs might be doing. Maybe someone else can add to this, Greg, or anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big spectrum here, Teresa. There's libraries that kind of initiate things, schools. Really, a lot of times it depends on sort of who the primary initiating agency is, but there's a long history of adult education organizations sponsoring and hosting family literacy programs. And always, when that's the case, there's always a strong adult education component to it. And using children's literature and, to reinforce that literacy skills development, working with them if the parents are interested in pursuing their GED and things of that nature. A program that originates in an elementary school or a library, some of the other programs may not, kind of come at it from that vantage point, and the focal point is more with the children, and it's more, reading enrichment and kind of helping the children with their skills developments. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, and and some of the resources that FLC is going to be making available, very much, it's going to be very important that there's a strong adult education component.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
And there's some good models out there with that's happened over the years here in Florida and elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll be hearing from two of them today, right? So,
That's what I'm looking for.
so Jackie, do you want to introduce Alejandro?
Yes, so the next presenter is Alejandro Garzon. He's the program manager for the Glades Family Education Program, which is part of the Literacy Coalition of Palm Beach County. So welcome, Alejandro.
Thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, basically, I'm the program manager of one of the many programs of the Literacy Coalition of Palm Beach County. We are located in Belle Glade, Florida, an area basically agricultural, migrant. So the demographics, the families that we serve here are agricultural workers and their families. And we've been operating for, is almost going to be 30 years now. Originally started in its inception with Darlene Kostrub, who was the founder of the Literacy Coalition of Palm Beach County. The idea and the design that is that marks what an ESOL-based family literacy program is not at all far from where we are and what we do. As I said before, we are ESOL-based, and we have a preschool for the children of the adults who want to attend English classes. And if I may, let me share a little bit of a PowerPoint that I have that I would like to explain as I am sharing. So let me, okay. So, like I said before, can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So as I said before, we are one of the many programs of the Literacy Coalition of Palm Beach County. And our main focus is adults, ESOL, not just adults in ESOL, but we have a strong component of parenting and other types of literacy that are necessary for the families that live in the community. We also have children's literacy. As they come, the parents come to attend English classes, which, by the way, happens Monday through Thursday from 9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, which is a very long day for teaching. But it's a model that has worked for going to be 30 years now. So it's based on parents coming to or us rather. As Greg said before, taking advantage of the opportunity that parents want to improve their communication skills in English, and us catching that and offering other additional things in the benefit of the multiple generation students that we have, or the two-gen, I should say, students that we have, parents with their preschool-aged children who are the age range of children that we serve here, children 3 to 5. We also conduct packed sessions, which happen every week. Additionally to packed sessions, we every day after lunch, since our day is from 9 to 2, we have a lunch break, and after lunch, this break happens at 12, from 12 to 12:45, and after the lunch break, the mothers join their children before nap time, and they're encouraged to read together. So that happens on a daily basis, and you can see the progression in time, how children become much more participating and engaged in the process of reading. to the extent in which, as the children progress and improve in their ability to read, they are the ones also helping the parents. And you will see a little bit more as I speak, and how this learning becomes reciprocal. Also, we, in addition to our English classes or ESOL classes, we conduct monthly parenting or life skill sessions in which we have guest presenters come out or via Zoom, do presentations with our families, which I will also speak a little bit more in detail and try to stick.
Just like talks about it.
I'm sorry, did I miss anybody?
I think it was background noise.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
As I said, we provide literacy and English classes for adults and their preschool children in the Glades area. We operate from 9 to 2, Monday through Thursday. Fridays is home visit day. Our preschool teachers go to the homes of the parents that have preschool children in our program, and they promote and provide activities that they can do at home together. So not just to do the activity with them, but also to teach them how to do the activities and the learning on their own at home. That happens also every Friday. Every child is covered with a home visit, every child that attends our program. As for our English, adults who are learning English here, just pretty much like a regular ESOL class, we teach using the communicative approach. Students are taught in a way that helps them to learn how to communicate. They learn at their own pace. So we have 4 different levels at this point, but the students are not promoted to the following level until they feel like they are. Or, if you see as a teacher, you see that the student is ready to move on, they're also encouraged to do it. But if they feel like they need to stay a little bit longer on one level, they're welcome to. And we covered, just like any ESOL class, the 4 main skills of a class: reading, writing, listening, and speaking, language components. As I said before, our children are aged 3 to 5, and with them we work on kindergarten readiness. We also work with them on the language, because a lot of the children that come to our program come from homes where English is not spoken. Therefore, the parents coming to learn English here. So therefore, the child is unable to communicate in English. So we have 2 fantastic teachers who do a great job in not just teaching the early literacy that any child needs in that age, but also doing it while teaching the child to communicate and to understand English. So additionally to the language, the children are instructed with all the typical early literacy components, rhyming, alliteration, letter recognition, basic reading, all of the things that the children need to be in order to be ready for kindergarten. And obviously, as I said before, we have Friday home visits. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of flying through this very quick. I'm trying to stick with the time. So PACT, key component of any family literacy institution. PACT is a time in which the child and the mother or the father get together and they do things together. They do activities. They read books. They make crafts, as you can see in the pictures. There's always an activity that happens once a week together, parent and child. Parenting skills and life skills. We've worked very hard throughout the years in trying to incorporate something additional to just ESOL classes. So once a month we have presenters, as I said before, who come from other organizations and agencies, and they give us presentations. And we've had several different agencies that have visited or been with our students on Zoom. And just to name a few, Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies. The Sheriff's Office gave us a great presentation on Parents Against Gangs, the Early Learning Coalition, the Drowning Prevention Coalition. We have the migrant programs, which there are several of in the Bellway area, with the resources that are available to the parents that have children in our program. The University of Florida with a number of nutrition workshops. So there are several things that we have been able to incorporate in the program that are in the benefit of the families, not just stick with typical one ESOL class type of situation. Through COVID, we adapted. We had to. We received the news that the program was going to be closed on a Friday, and the following Tuesday we were gathering phone numbers from registrations and from everywhere to create groups on WhatsApp. So 3 or 4 days later, students were being notified that classes were going to continue on WhatsApp. That was the fastest, easiest way. There is a reason for WhatsApp because, as you may have experienced from the people that you work with, if at all similar to our demographics, people do not have the technology available. They may not have a computer at home. We can't do Zoom. And if they do have a computer, how do I download Zoom? How do I operate it? So everybody has WhatsApp, and WhatsApp was going to be the easiest way and the most direct and fastest way to get to them and to continue to do what we do. So preschool classes, preschool lessons, adult classes, all the teachers, everything continued on WhatsApp until a couple of months later, we were able to teach the students how to download Zoom, how to move on. So we progressively, we went through a couple more video group app platforms until we actually were able to instruct our students and help them to download Zoom. And from that point on, it was Zoom classes up until, including the children, up until September last year when we became hybrid. Part of it was here, part of it was on Zoom, and then we're here. We're fully operational, and but we do have, and I think that every agency, unfortunately, is struggling a little bit with this. That one of the consequences of COVID was that enrollment has not been as strong as it used to be pre-COVID. But we're getting there slowly, and we're very close to going back to our regular numbers. It's not dramatic, but we're very close. Thank you. We have. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Oh, and one very important thing that we forgot, which also, in a way, creates that ability for the parents to be able to come and the children to be able to come to the program, and it is the fact that we have a bus. We offer transportation, so that breaks and that takes away one of those challenges that otherwise we would have as a program, to be able to have more people come to be part of the program. So we have that opportunity, and also, before I forget, the last one, I promise, We every quarter we have a family literacy night, and this family literacy night is an opportunity that we offer our students, our adult students who either have children here in our program or not, to bring everybody in their family. They want to bring their husband, they want to bring their wife, they want to bring the children who are K through 12 that are not in our program, obviously. And it's a moment, and it's an event in which we read a book, we play bingo, we do an activity, we all eat, which is very important. And believe it or not, as Greg said, meals and food make a huge difference. So those are incredible opportunities in which we have fun. We've had dances, we've had games, we've had contests, and the whole family is able to once again be together, work together, learn together. And this one also includes parents who are not able to be here because of work or any other reasons, and aunts and uncles and whoever wants to come. And that's pretty much who we are. I know I'm missing a lot, but that's pretty much who we are in a nutshell.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you, Greg.
Presentation, a wonderful program. And we'll open it up for, we have a little bit of time for a question or two. Any questions for Alejandro?
I have a question.
It's not a question. I just wanted to say that sounds wonderful, both of the speakers, but Alejandro, that's excellent. I'm very happy about the program and how it's worked. So,
Thank you very much.
and the only other thing I would say, because I'm sure other people who have either have programs or are thinking about it, we expanded into Palaca, into Putnam County this past year, and that's stopped for the summer just because, you know, for summer break. But we are investigating whether or not we can do a daycare because it's crucial. We have a lot of students that could not participate to the extent they wanted to for that exact same reason. So I definitely agree.
I hope you can make it.
Yep, thanks.
Alejandro, I noticed you had some men, I assume fathers, as part of the group in some of those photos. What's your ratio? I usually think of these programs as predominantly, you know, having mother participation, but can you speak a little bit to that? Do you do anything to promote father participation, and how many fathers are part of the program?
Okay, yes, you are correct in that, unfortunately, the participation of the parent, of the father, is not nearly as high as the mother. And I think that in part, that has to do with a number of factors. One of them being cultural, due to our major population being Hispanic and Haitian. I think the fact that culturally the father is not very involved in the process of the education of the children, because traditionally they are supposed to be the ones that go to work and provide for the family. So it is the mother that takes care of that. However, we've seen a great improvement in the involvement in the participation of the parents. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do it through changing our schedule, because this is the schedule that has continued to work for the rest of the family. But through family night and through all the other events that we have, we encourage the participation of the parents. And I don't know if you were able to see, it's so rewarding to be able to see a father just going crazy, making a craft with their 3 or 4 year old, and participating actively in, whether they know how to speak English well or not, they're there reading a book with them and for them. And I would say, rather than for them, I'd say with them. So these additional events that we have, and these presentations, and all of the other things that go additionally to the class are opportunities in which we encourage the father to participate in the program. And it's been improving a lot.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I can just quickly add to that if I can, because that's a really good point. And I think sometimes having, and I don't think it's a long-term solution, but just having father-only sort of groups together sometimes is kind of one-offs or two-offs, you know. I think that can sort of help based on some of the research that some fathers may not be comfortable coming if, you know, the majority of people attending are women and they feel that they may not. So that, again, it's just based on some of the research. Rose and Atkins' work is, for an example, is a write-up on that. But I think it's really getting fathers' voices of why they may or may not attend. But it's a really good point, really good question. And thanks, Alejandro, for sharing on that as well.
Thank you. And just on that point, we are thinking that just to address that particular situation, we are thinking that probably one of our future, not too far in the future, family nights is going to be a father-daughter dance and a mother-son dance, which in a way will encourage the participation of the father. Just an opportunity to spend time and have more fathers.
Okay, good. So Jackie, you want to introduce the small group discussion breakouts?
Yes, okay. So at this point, we're going to have some small breakout groups for people who can stay with us. And at that time, Greg and I and Alejandro as well will jump into some of the breakout rooms. And at that, we thought what would happen is you'd have an opportunity to talk about some of the advantages and challenges of a family literacy program in a smaller group format. And then if we can assist with that, we're happy to as well. So again, looking at some of the challenges and also some of the advantages of the program that you're currently in or working in or plan to be in. So if we could have breakout rooms, we're going to break out, I think, for approximately 10 minutes. Greg, does that sound good?
Yeah, I think looking at the clock, maybe we'll make it about 9 minutes. And Nicole, you're just going to put people, can you explain, Nicole, you're just going to put people in a room or?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I will, you will automatically be assigned to a room. So once I open the rooms, you should be able to just click join and it should pop you in. There should be no more than 6 participants per room. And that's, I think that's about it. I'll go ahead and create them.
Okay.
Are there any questions about your assignment in the small groups? Or what you're going to talk about? I shouldn't say assignment.
Just sort of looking at advantages and potential challenges and hosting a family.
Okay, perfect.
And the breakout room is not recorded. The individual breakout rooms are not being recorded.
Right. Okay, so you can go ahead and join your rooms. Greg and Jackie, you are not automatically assigned, so you will have to join a room, jump into a room. I would suggest taking separate rooms.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Greg,
Yeah, I'll just go with room 3 here.
okay, I'll just jump into room maybe 1 for now, then I'll jump into another one.
Yeah, do you both know how to jump from room to room? Oh, they're gone. Okay. Hi, Tanya, are you there? You can unmute yourself.
I am, and I'm sorry. I moved to a different location in my house because I knew I was going to have a mute, and I didn't want the kids
see.
to be in the background, and then my internet dropped. I fell off, so
Oh, okay.
I wasn't able to join.
Okay, no problem. Do you still want to join the group or? would you-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go ahead. Let me just make sure. Okay, so you're in group 5, so you should go ahead. You should be able to just click join. Do you see?
Mm,
Do you see where you can join?
No, I saw it earlier, and I
Yeah.
did, and I did hit join, but then that's when I think my internet dropped, and now I don't see it. I just
All
see
right.
N.
Hang on one second. Let me see if I can help out. So if you go to the bottom of your screen, is there like a more button that has 3
Uh-huh.
dots?
Oh, breakout rooms. Yeah, I see
Yeah.
breakout rooms.
So if you click that, what does it say?
Oh, okay, okay. It says you have been assigned to breakout room 5, join breakout room.
Okay,
So I'll do
yes.
that.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
All right.
I guess we're the only ones here.
Everyone, there we go. Just
Oh,
give them
sorry,
some
I
time
ended
to
I
wrap
ended
up.
up clicking on mine. Mhm.
Welcome back.
Hello. I didn't,
Hello. Welcome back. Everyone will be forced to close in 10 seconds. so
I
just-
didn't, yeah, I accidentally had clicked mine.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
click it.
Yeah, it just gives them some time. Okay.
Hi, Dr. Lynch. It's good to
Hi.
see you. We've spoken on the phone, but never met face to face.
Hi, Megan. Hi, yes.
Good to
Right
see
here,
you.
my
I just
boss.
met your colleague face to face, Alejandro, online, I
Yes.
should say.
Yes.
Yes, it's great to meet. Yeah, and hopefully we'll meet in person sometime too,
Yes, I
like
hope.
face to face.
Looking forward to it.
Lisa got cut off, but Lisa, good luck with everything.
Thank you.
I hope that was a useful exercise for folks. Our group had a very engaged conversation, and there's a lot, the very nature of this kind of program, it's just, lends itself, I think, to a lot of sharing. There's no cookie cutter approach to this, I don't think, but, and I know we're at the time here, so I think we do need to wind it up, but I do hope that you'll all be able to join us for our next session. And that is that's next Wednesday, right? Same time?
Yeah, next Wednesday, same time. I will send everyone, actually, it is the same link, so you could just use the same link, but we'll send an email reminder with the link again anyway. Also, I do have, Greg, I do have a quick survey that I just wanted to send everyone.
Okay.
Just for this part 1. So if you could all fill it out, just a basic webinar survey really helps us to kind of hone our offerings and make sure we're giving you the best quality stuff. So
with that, if anybody needs to leave now, we certainly understand, but we can stay on for just a few more minutes. If anybody has any other comments or questions that they'd like to ask or share.
And Greg, the agenda will be shared with the group as well, right? The new agenda?
Yes, and the slides will as well. And in the second session, we're going to have some additional resources that we're going to be sharing in terms of online and hard copy kinds of materials that are available to support development, planning of family literacy programs. So come back and we'll share that with you. Any other comments or questions?
Thank you very much. It was very, very informative.
As far as
Thank you.
someone's email, do we just we just ask them personally? You don't give us you can't give out emails, I don't believe. Is that
In terms
correct?
of, you have somebody here you want to connect?
Elena!
Elena, there's Elena.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't traditionally give out everybody's email,
Okay.
but what you can do is, in the chat there's a little feature there where you can send a chat specifically to that individual. You want to connect with that person here?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, good. Well, I hope to see you all.
Greg.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to confirm, the slides that were presented will be shared with us, correct?
Yes.
That is
share those
Excellent
slides.
presentation, very well condensed, very well organized. Very impressive. Thank you very much for doing this amazing, very important contribution to literacy
Yep.
at
Yeah.
large.
Appreciate
I think
that.
the research the cited
Yes.
research is very helpful, so we can go back and look at those specific things from Jackie
And it's
Lynch.
very
That was
important
really
talking
helpful.
points. Talking points that you can use to educate community, board of directors, or parents even.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to put a plug in for Jackie's book because she has a lot of cited research in that. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's,
would you please show the front again? Just
it's actually referenced in the.
okay.
Oh,
And
see
move it
that?
a little bit
That's
up. I
backwards.
want to
That's
see the
backwards, isn't
picture. That I'm visual learner.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Teaching and learning about family literacy and family literacy programs. So, okay.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else you wanted to share, Jackie?
No, I just want to say thank you to everybody that attended. And hopefully if there's other follow-up questions that we didn't get to either in the next session, or feel free to reach out to me individually. I'm happy to answer anything that you have. So
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
thank you.
Thank you,
Will
Jackie.
the recording be available for
Oh,
this session?
I do not have time to put my email. Oh,
You can't put your email?
yeah, no, I am putting, but Ruth, Teresa,
Yes.
Project Light of Humanity, Google us and you will see my email.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. Project Light of
Okay.
Humanity, and the other
Okay.
people who wanted my email, Project Light of Humanity, and mail me. Maybe we can set a Zoom session. something
And
we
to
can
answer your
discuss further.
question, we will be sharing the recording.
Oh,
We
okay.
just have to do a little bit of editing before we send that out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.